back, everyone, to our post-match reaction for the Arsenal versus Sporting Lisbon second leg. The game ended 0-0. Not surprised. There's a lot of things going wrong with this Arsenal team currently. We can't seem to score. And when we do score, it doesn't count for nothing because we keep losing. But if you're new here or you've been in my watch-alongs, make sure you subscribe. Especially if you're a big Arsenal fan, this is where it goes down. But yeah, it goes down. Arsenal drew 0-0. I'll be honest, I'm not really happy with the performance. I think the first 5 minutes they look quite enthusiastic about getting the ball forward, but then after that I feel like it kind of dipped. I think Arsenal are playing way too conservative, and it's allowing teams to do their tactics and work into our areas. Some key things that I picked up in the match, I'm going to talk about in a minute. But just want to know Ashton's thoughts. How do you think the game went?
I think it was very similar to what you said. I think first 5 to 10 minutes was really good, really energetic. We seemed as though we had a purpose. But then after that kind of 10 to 15 minutes, let's say 5 to 10 minute period was over, we allowed Sporting possession. And obviously allowing Sporting possession is dangerous because they do know how to kick that ball around. And we were just opened up like a can of worms at times. And it was just like, so scary to watch when you think to yourself, there is a major game on the weekend. You can't afford this, not to mention the injuries and stuff, which we will get onto in a bit. But yeah, just...
I think for Arsenal, what we saw and what we noticed is that they can do 3 passes and they're already through on our goal.
Yeah.
With Arsenal, we have to do about 20 passes before we start transitioning into an attack or get a shot off. Now, some parts of the game, what I noticed was Trossard. He had opportunities to score, but I realised with our wingers, I don't know if this is instruction by Arteta, but it seems like run forward when you're looking at the goal, turn around, and pass back to midfield. Pass back to midfield, pass to defence, pass to midfield, pass to defence, pass to the winger. This is all that's happening, and I think teams are starting to clock on how Arsenal play because we've been doing the same thing for years.
Yeah.
And then, bam, what happens? We get exposed, and then simple things like overhead balls we struggle with. Another thing that I want to quickly address is our runs. I think a huge problem is our runs by our wingers. When a player has the ball, like Eze, for example, or Havertz, whoever's in the midfield, the wingers will not do run in. So they won't run into like diagonally. It's run straight. That's one thing I've noticed about Martinelli. He runs forward, not diagonal. Because when you run diagonal and someone feeds a through ball and you're going to meet that ball, yeah? Triangle. But with Martinelli, because he's running forward, we can't do the through balls. I think that's another thing. I think another issue is, I think we have to chop and change it. I'm not saying every single game do it, but maybe the odd game here and there. This cutting in stuff with the wingers, it's not working. It's not worked for 4 games. I think before the break as well, we struggled a little bit in the Prem and the Champions League when we drew against Leverkusen. But this cutting in with the wingers, I think it needs to stop. No. It's clearly not working, so we need to change our tactics. You have to adapt to the season. I think that's what the big teams are doing. That's what Man City's doing. And this is how you progress and what makes you become champions.
Speaking of progression, Declan Rice, Martin Zubimendi. I think as Martin Zubimendi at the start of the season was, putting those progressive runs forward, those progressive passes. But I think as the season's gone on, he's kind of played it a bit too safe. And I think more often than not, we find ourselves, he finds himself picking up the ball in DM and just like more often than not spraying it back to Saliba or Gabriel. Then you go to Rice, back to Zubimendi. It's just rotational in the defensive midfield position, and it's like, before you know it, the opposition's team is back behind the ball, and that's exactly what you don't want to do, especially when you're on the counter-attack, not to mention the lack of diagonal runs that are happening and the mix-up. And then you get things like Gyökeres, who's not being trusted enough when he's getting up there and who can cause issues. I think if we're a lot more physical with him up there, it would, prove to be beneficial, and it kind of frees up Martinelli or Madueke, whoever's playing on the wing, like it was at the beginning of the season with Saka, so that he could get more shots off. What's to say that we can't do that in the Champions League? And we can. Look, we take someone like Havertz who came on second half and he was proven to be that kind of useful man. That is something that Gyökeres was doing for the whole first half and he barely got touches of the ball. So that's something that I feel as though needs to change. It's the sideways passing, and then when we do progress that ball, 1, it's really slow, 2, it's really lackluster, and 3, we're just stuck for options. because they're very, very one route, and it can only work for you for so long before it gets repetitive and teams start to break down exactly what you're doing because again they see it week in week out just like we do as fans. So
with Arsenal, I've addressed this before. It's just the patient build up. The patient build up is it's becoming
too patient.
Too patient. Yeah, and then the thing is, you might not get the opening. Sometimes you have to force the opening. And how do you force the opening? By playing progressive passes. That's what you need to do. You break down a defense or midfield with one pass. That's what you can do because that's what was happening today. You know, we can be as solid as we can in midfield, but Sporting Lisbon were trying their best to break us down. They wasn't waiting for us to expose ourselves. They made cracks. So, example, they could just do one through pass past Declan Rice and past Mendy, and guess what? So Capier's because he's up front or assisting Martinelli in the wing. The left back position is exposed. This is what they're doing, and I just want to say Marcus Araujo.
What player?
I don't know if that's his first name, but Araujo, he's such a quality player. He was their best player on both legs. Hit the crossbar in the first leg, but you can just see the difference in coaching. You can see the difference in quality. Now he's not a skillful player. He's not Vinicius Junior, but his tracking back, his attacking, he can impact on both sides of the pitch. I know I compliment Martinelli so much for defensive work, but I realised something. Why am I complimenting a winger only on defensive work when their actual position is to attack? Like, this is how life's become at Arsenal. We're trying to find things to praise our wingers on, which isn't their actual position or what they're bought in for. A winger is supposed to be assisting, getting goals, transitioning with the team. Yeah, but I'm praising him purely on the other stuff he's doing. Like, he's a winger. He needs to be producing on both sides of the field. Araujo was managed to doing it today, so I don't know why our wingers couldn't do it. You know, hopefully Madueke is not injured because we need him on Sunday against Man City. But yeah, it's an unfortunate, circumstance for our injuries right now. But yeah, we just got to see what happens on Sunday. We're gonna be doing a match review for that. A match prediction for that, sorry. So make sure you stay to the end of the video. The link will be at the top. And I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. You know, we have a watch along for the Man City game on Sunday, so you might want to tune into that. If you're not an Arsenal fan, it will still be great to have you on board. You know, we have a lot of good discussions.
You can definitely slate us.
And then we're always ready for the banter, the Arsenal banter, the bottle jobs. But yeah, till next time.